Hey everybody, really excited to, let me just music a little bit. Really excited to get to work with all of you and that you're able to join in. Today we're just going to go over some um, basics about JavaScript option or objects. I'm an instructor here at App Academy. If you haven't already joined our App Academy Open, I highly encourage you to. It's free for you to take a look at. It's really awesome. There's some really good resources in there, and there's a really great community on our Discord. Definitely check that out. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Soon me or one of our awesome moderators will be you out answering questions. Let's go ahead and get started. Today, let's go ahead and get started with our JavaScript object. So our objectives are going to be to gain a baseline understanding of what a JavaScript object is. You'll often see this called a POJO. A POJO really just means a plain old JavaScript object. So basically, if you ever see that, that is just telling you that it is a regular object, and we'll dig into what that is. So we just want to make sure that you know the difference between multiple different loops and when they are useful. So our outline is going to just be to review some common data structures you'll see in JavaScript, go over what an object is, walk through some fun examples, and talk about properties and methods and go over a little demo. Okay, so to get started with, I just wanted to go over some things you might already be familiar with. So some common structures you might see are, so I went and made some variables for you guys. We have your favorite numbers, 42, a string variable, which is just hello world, a Boolean, which is always going to be true or false, and the best languages, in my opinion. All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and there, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So objects are just a collection of key value pairs. You can kind of think of them as like an array, but instead of an index, we're saving it as a string, a unique string, which is a key. The value could be any type of data structure. So all of those ones that you saw before, all of those like numbers, strings, arrays, any of those could be a value. But for a key, it must be a string specifically. So another important thing is that they can have functions as values. You'll see those when you're coming across different code bases. We can call those methods, and we'll also have access to different attributes. So one way you can access that is with square brackets, or you can use a notation, and we'll go through examples of that as well. All right. Can any of you guys tell me some objects in real life? So literally just like any object you see in front of you, you know, like maybe a car, maybe your cell phone, literally any object. So let's go ahead and pick one, and then we can talk about the different properties of that thing. Okay, so Matt said a phone. So let's talk about the properties of a phone. So a phone has memory. So it might have a certain amount of gigabytes, maybe 128. It also has a model. So let's say we're dealing with an iPhone 14 Pro. And it also has other properties, right? Like a color. Maybe you have a yellow phone. Not only that, but it also has methods. So we were talking about methods before. What are some things that a phone can do? Go ahead and drop it in the chat. Like, what's your favorite thing to do on your phone? Call people. Yeah, you can call someone. Maybe send a text message. Yeah, texting. Yeah, definitely. Definitely guilty of that one. You could also open up an app. You can use your calendar, maybe use social media. So all of those could be methods or functions on a phone object. So not only does it have these attributes or properties, but it also has the ability to do certain things. So just like objects in real life, we can represent those objects in code. So here's our example. Has anyone heard about the cage fight between Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk? Hopefully everyone's heard of this. Apparently they're going to stream it on X, but this is going to be our example. Yeah, it happens. I'm wondering where they're going to actually stream it. All right, so objects have properties. So our match, right, our cage match, we have contenders. So who's going to actually be participating in the cage fight? So our contenders are Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. We also have a venue. So we just picked the Thunderdome Arena, just a random venue. So this is going to be on, and then we have rules. So no weapons allowed, or no biting or eye gouging. So far, we don't know who's going to win, and the fight is not currently in progress. And I'm just going to go ahead and make this a little bit smaller for you guys. There you go. Okay, so objects have properties, right? So that is kind of what it looked like in a table, but this is what it would look like in code. So in code, you're going to have these curly braces around to signify that it is an object. And then you'll see we have these key value pairs. So the strings that are highlighted in green are the keys. The values are everything that comes after that semicolon. And we can have multiple key value pairs inside of a single object. So you'll notice that we have our contenders, and then separated by a comma is the venue, and then the date and the rules, the winner, and the fight in progress. If we want to access these values, we can do so by just calling dot on the name of that object. So we've saved this object to a variable called cage fight. And if we want to access the contenders, we can do so by doing cagefight.contenders to get access to that array. Then if we want to perform something on that, do something like a for each, because cagefight.contenders is going to return an array, which is enumerable. So if we'd like to, we can iterate through each of the names and then console.log them. Another thing is we could add an attribute to an existing object by just using the square bracket method. So if we use the square bracket method, we can name a string and then assign it. So in this case, I added a round to the cage fight, and I set it equal to 1, since it is the first round. Okay, nice. So we can also have functions, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at different functions we can have. And let's see if I can scroll through this. So if you look at the bottom, you should be able to see start fight. Start fight is a function where we're just console logging that the fight between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg has begun. We also have some other functions below that look like they might be a little cut off. So let me see if I can make this a little bit smaller. Looks like not. Okay, well, you'll be able to see it in code on the next screen. So I'll just go ahead and move forward and let you guys look at it here. It's a little bit easier to read anyways when it's in code. So here we have the cage fight object. I didn't want to include all of the previous code so that it didn't take up as much room. So for now, I just denoted the previous code with a ... So it doesn't have the contenders listed, as well as, the winner, or if the fight was still going on, the venue, all of that information. But let's just assume that it is still there, but just for display purposes, it's denoted with a ... So here we have two functions added. We have the start fight function, which is the console log that we talked about before, and then we have announce winner. So our announce winner function is just a simple function that's checking to see if the fight is in progress or not. If the fight is in progress, then we're just going to console log that the cage fight is still in progress. So we can't actually say who the winner is yet. If the fight is not in progress, that means that the game is over. So we can check to see if there is a winner. If there is a winner, then we just want to print the winner's name. Otherwise, we can just console log that the cage fight has ended in a draw. Okay, awesome. And if you look at below at the very bottom, I've also included how to invoke one of these functions. So let's say we wanted to call start fight. If we wanted to use start fight, which is a function that is a property inside of an object, we can do so by just saying cage fight.start fight and then invoke it with open parentheses. If you were to call cage fight.start fight and not invoke it with open parentheses, instead of invoking it, it would just return the actual function. So you would see function, it defined, and what it would perform, but it wouldn't actually be invoked just yet. Okay. Next up, you'll see that I set the fight in progress to false, and then did the contender or the winner to be one of the contenders, and then we can announce it. Okay, so let's go ahead and dig into a coding demo. I'm going to stop my share really quick and switch it to a new share. One sec. Alrighty, let's get this shared. Okay, awesome. So you guys should be able to see this demonstration now. So I went ahead and moved all of the code that we went over in the slides into this demo.js file. So we have our cage fight, which has contenders. Welcome to the chat. Venue, it has the date and time, rules, all of that information that we saw before, right? So what we want to do is let's go ahead and make this a little more interesting. So we have Elon and Mark here, right? There's probably a little bit more information that we want about Elon and Mark, right? So go ahead and represent Elon and Mark as variables and as objects. So we can make, let's say, let Elon, we can set him equal to an object. And let's think about things that are important about him, right? So of course, we're going to want his name. We can set that equal to a string, Elon Musk. What other things are important? Maybe his age, which let's just say it's like maybe he's like 50. If anyone knows his age, feel free to drop it and we can date it. Let's do his occupation. Let's see, he is the CEO of X and SpaceX. We see. Okay. What else? Maybe important in regards to the fight. So let's go ahead and represent his health with a number. So let's say his health is, let's do it out of 100. So let's say maybe it's 80. And we can also do his confidence, which I have the feeling is going to be pretty high. Let's give it a 98. I feel like he's probably feeling pretty confident. And lastly, let's see, maybe his strength. Okay, his strength, well, let's maybe do 85. Cool. So now we have so much more information, right? With the power of an object. It's not just his name, Elon. Instead, Elon, which has his full name, his age, occupation, health, confidence, strength, and we could add way more. That's the power of an object. We also can do the same for Mark. Right? So let's go ahead and create a variable Mark. Maybe another object. We're going to want to include his name also, which is Mark Zuckerberg. We can do his age. I think he's a little bit younger. Maybe let's give him like 30, 39. Occupation. His occupation. He's the, I guess he's the founder of Meta. His health, I feel like he'll be more healthy. So let's give him a health of maybe like 95. Confidence, I feel like his confidence, let's give it a 90. And his strength, how strong do you guys think Mark Zuckerberg is? Any volunteers? 2. All right. I feel like 2 is pretty low. Maybe let's give him 20. 20. That's pretty funny. Okay, cool. So 1, okay, 21. I'm gonna put them together. Thanks for the input. Awesome. So let's go ahead and now we have way more information about Elon and Mark, right? Okay, so and test out functions that we already have. So we have this start fight function, which is just going to console.log. So let's go ahead and try that out. So we have our cage fight, and we can just here. So let's do cage fight, and we're going to want to call not announce, but just start fight. And our start fight function is actually going to console log for us. So now we can just, now that we've invoked it, let's go ahead and just run this file. Node, and then the name of the file, you can see the cage fight Musk and Mark Zuckerberg has begun. Awesome. What if we wanted to write a function that's just going to let us what all of the different properties are for one of our fighters? So what we could do is let's create a function, and we can maybe call it properties of an object. And we can set to a function. And this function can take in an object. So let's go ahead and put an object here. And let's talk about how we can look at just the keys of an object. So let's see, keys of an object. So one way to do is we can do object.keys. So JavaScript has a built-in method on the object class called .keys, and this will give us an array of all of the keys in the object. So if we pass this object to object.keys, we can then see all of the thing. So let's save that to a variable. We can call this object key. And let's go ahead and console them. So let's go console.log. I just realized I had a little typo here. Object keys. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and invoke this function and then try running our program again. We're going to want to call properties of objects. Let's pass in as an example. And if you look here, it was returned with inside of it. So we have name, age, occupation, health, confidence, strength, all of that information that we put in the original object. So what if we wanted the values? If you want the values of an object, you can do something really similar. So let's do the values of an object. And to get the values, you can just do object. We'll also want to make another variable here, vals, and we can set this equal to the object dot values object. So in this case, we're going to want to console.log the object values. Let's go ahead and test that out. So this should print out all of the values of that particular object. Awesome. So you'll see here we have so all of the values for those given keys. So for name, we have Mark Zuckerberg. For age, we have his age, his occupation, and all of that useful information, right? So this is very, because now we can see keys and we can see the value. There are ways that we can access keys and values of objects. So another way that we can do this is by looping through the keys. So let's try using a for loop. Let's say for and let key. We're going to use a for in loop. In is a special kind of for loop that gives you the index of something. So if you're you're going to index of an array. If you're working with an object, you're going to get the keys in an array. So it's really helpful to think for in means index. So if we're looking for the key in the object, then I guess let's just console log key. And to try and clean this up, I'm going to temporarily just just this one here. And I'll go ahead and rerun our node. Okay, so yeah, you can see here all of the keys have been printed. So if you're familiar with JavaScript, you might also know for loop that we could use. You might be out. So there's not only a for in, but there's also a for of. Go ahead and let of, and let's log the value. Okay, and do you guys think this will work? Can we use a for of on an object? Go ahead and give me a yes or a no. You can even do like a Y or an N, or if you don't know, you can just type don't know. So I think some of you might be pretty tempted to try the of, but let's go ahead and test it out and see if it does. You can comment out this and just the of. Okay, we're getting type error, object is not iterable. So while we can iterate the keys, we cannot iterate through the values. So this does not work. Let's go ahead and leave ourselves a comment that we cannot use for of on objects. Okay, so one thing we can do, right? Okay, so we can't access our values that way. But one thing we can do is we can actually do something a little different here. Instead of just looking at the key, we can actually key into existing object. We could say object that key, and that should return a. So we can say value equal the object.key. And what this is going is on the very first iteration, we know that our key is going to be name, right? So it's going to go back into the original object, key into name, and return that value. On the next iteration, key is going to be age, and well, it might be age. Something important to mention is in this particular time that we ran through it, it came out in this order. However, when you're using the for in loop, you don't actually know what order it's going to come in. A special thing about objects is they can be in any order. The keys can be in any order. It's an unordered, I don't want to say list, but this can be in any order. So that's important to keep in mind. So loosely, when I'm saying the next thing is going to be age, really it could be age, it could be something else, but the important thing to get out of it is that whatever, it's going to go through all of the keys, and for each key, it's going to return that value. Awesome. So let's go ahead and test this out. We've created our variable val, and we've set it equal to the value returned when we key into a given object. Let's go ahead and print that value. And let's go ahead and clear this also. Oops. There you go, clear. Okay. All right, looks like it's saying it can't find a module. We may have a typo. Oh yeah, look at the end of my, let's go ahead. Clean that up. Okay, cool. Nice, we're seeing all of our values are getting printed, that even though we're able to use the for of, we can still those values using our for. So that's something cool. Another thing that you might be tempted, I'll comment for now, is you can also just print them both. So maybe we want to see console.log that has both key and the value. Comment this back in. You can see, do I have a typo? Console is not a function.log. There you go. So now the name and, or sorry, the value and the key. So for each key, you get the value that's associated with it. Also, that's just a little overview of how you access the keys inside of a given object. Let's go ahead and maybe make like more sophisticated. So one thing we could do is maybe write that's going to maybe just contenders that are participating. So our contenders currently are in an array here. And then each of these elements inside of our object. So find as we go through. And actually, you know, one thing I can do is open this up to the side. Let's make it see both of them. Can everyone see that okay? Okay. All right, so let's go out this example and let's try. Let's see, we'll also want to comment get an error. Okay, awesome, thanks. So next up, let's write this. We can write and call it maybe. Okay, thanks guys, thanks for the heads up. Let's call it display contender. We don't just make a function. Let's add a function to our existing object. So let's add a function as a property to an object. Cool. So we have our object that we made above that's going to be cage fight. And what we can do is we can actually add something to it. So let's go ahead and do that. So cage fight. We can do this using either or square bracket. I think dot notation looks a little bit cleaner. So let's go ahead and try doing that. Maybe we should call this display the contenders. Okay, cool. Display contender function. And what it's going to do is it's going to actually print out the contenders and information. So maybe we'll want to provide some type of that's or know that is what this function is doing. So let's say we're pleased nouns. Yeah, we're to announce and colon. So now the user kind of knows what we're going to do. Next up, what we can do is we can access the contender. So let's make a const. And actually, this would be a good time to show you guys something. Let's say const, and we'll want to make this contenders, and we can actually set this equal object deconstructed. So if we take our object, which is the right. Actually, we'll need to use this here. So we'll save this for later. We'll do another example. But for now, actually, it makes more sense to do it this way. So instead, what we're going to do is loop. So for, and we're going to let the contender of here, we're going to actually use this keyword. If you haven't seen this before, just when we're saying this, referring to the cage fight object. So this, in this circumstance, will be the cage fight object because that is going to be the self in this case. Here, this contenders is then going to give us our contenders. Using the of, should be getting each object. So this will give us the object value. So this should be mark and as objects. And I'll go ahead and just put on a new line so you guys can delete and maybe put this up here. Okay, so now we have our for loop started. What we want to do is we need to print out the information about the contender. So what we make a .log where we're going to say I think is super relevant. We could say maybe let's do X of contender is, and then we'll want to say the string interpolated. We say it's going to be contender dot name. Might also want to include other information about it. We might want to include maybe their occupation, their age. So let's say their age is, and what we can say, contender.age, years old, and maybe taking a break from their job, let's just say, and has a health of, and we'll specific. So this is going to be the contender dot. So now we've taken this object, right? But we've made a super. We're able to get so much information out, right? Now, not just this like random object with information, but the name of the contender is Mark, his age is 39, and he has a health of, I forgot what we gave him, maybe like 90. It's pretty awesome. Test it out and make sure. We'll need to, let's go ahead on cage fight. So we've added, we're going to have to from cage fight. Cage fight dot contenders. We'll invoke it. We'll want to pass in nothing, because let's go ahead and try that out. All right. Oh, so here we have it at the very bottom. We're pleased to announce the name of the contender is Elon Musk. He is years old and has a. So let's go ahead and add a who in here. Makes a little bit more awesome. So yeah, that's an example of how we can use objects to do something a little bit more powerful, right? There's definitely a lot more information conveyed by using an object here than just saying that their name is Elon or their name is Mark. So that's kind of like the cool about objects and what we do here. Do you have any questions so far? Put them in the chat if you have. Cool. Let's go ahead and maybe try out a few more things. We might want to try actually like starting our cage fight. So we already did our start. We've now displayed our contenders. Maybe we'll want to decide who a winner is. So let's go ahead and add a cage fight. We can call maybe random winner, a random winner. And we can set this equal to a function, and the function is going to call, let's see, we'll want to find a random number. So let's go ahead and create a function const random number, and we can set it equal to, we can use something called math.random. So math.random. And if we just invoke math.random like this, it's going to give you a random number between 0 and 1. So we could actually just make sure that we this, and that's math.round. That should give us a number that is either or 1 here. Cool. I'm going to leave a comment here to explain that should give us a random number between 0 and 1. And the reason why we want that, just as a reminder, is because we only wins. So the winner could either be Musk or it could be Berg. It has a length of 1. Our indexes are going to be either 0. So here we're generating a random, so that way we can randomly pick a winner. Now what we can do here, we can set our winner equal to our random contender. So here we could say dot winner, and we're referring here to the property of, which is here on line 27. Here we have winner, which is set to null. So if someone is going to be winning, things that have to happen, right? We have to set the winner equal to a participant. So let's go ahead and set. And the other thing is we have to make it so that will be game over. So we'll have to update those two things. So let's set the winner equal to this dot contender, and I think it's contenders, right? Yeah, this dot contenders, and we'll want to just key in with our random number. Awesome. So now we have a random contender selected, and if we want to, we could console.log who this dot winner is so that we know that this is and to make sure dot winner was actually updated. All right, let's go ahead and invoke this function as well. So cage fight and dot random winner. And for now, we can comment out our other function calls so that way it's a little clearer what we're doing. So if we clear our console and run our file again, we will see our winner is our entire Mark Zuckerberg object. So keep in mind that every single time that we call this function, it's going to call this function or this randomizer that we made. So every time the winner is going to be different. So now we have proof that our randomizer is working because when we console.log this dot winner, we saw that it's an actual object that's representing one of our participants, right? Cool. So now that we've done that, we can then check to see if our function is working. So now that we've done that, we have to do the other thing, which is setting our cage fight property, checking to see if the fight is in progress, which right now is true. And actually make sure that we set false. Otherwise, it's going to say that our game is still in progress and we're not going to be able to set the it's not a function equal to false. So we're accessing a property inside of our assigning it. So previously the fight was in progress and now we're updating this value to be false. So now that we've done that, we should be able to our other function. So above, we made this announce winner function to check to see the fight is in progress, like we reviewed before. If the fight is still, you should see this message below. I'll go ahead and close this so you guys can read it better. The cage fight is still in progress. If the fight is not in progress, then we have to read the winner. So let's go ahead and test this. Let's first test out the function here. So we'll do the cage fight dot announce winner. So if we were to announce the winner without updating our winner or fight in progress here. Fight is still in progress. Okay. So what happens when the game is going to up the fight in progress to be false? And when we run it again, we should get a different message here. The case ended in a draw. Okay. Well, what happens when we make sure that there is a winner? We'll see Elon Musk wins the case. Cool. So that's just a sweet little small example showing you guys how to access different properties, update them, add new functions to an existing object. Happy to take any questions if you have any. And I'm going to switch share back to my screen. So let me add a new screen share really quick. It's going to be of the slides again. Any questions for me that you? Also, if you have any questions about the program, ask those as well, App Academy in general. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, any questions, feel free to ask. We'll be here hanging out, but if not, thank you so much for participating, for coming in tonight. Don't forget to check out App Academy Open online. You can enroll for free, as well as check out all of our offerings. We really do have a lot for a lot of different people. The free curriculum is amazing. Any questions that you have, check out our Discord. We dropped a link in the chat. All right. Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful night. If you see in the chat, we're going to do a raid. So make sure you say hello from App Academy and remember, everybody, be kind.